Wow. Well, given only like 2 months to do this, the first month and a half was really, we were swapping rooms. We started off in Golden's room, and we were just really just trying to get a feel for the space. The actors were kind of exploring. I didn't really control the blocking so much. I kind of wanted to see what they would do. And then halfway through that month of February, we moved to the theater, and then they had this large space. So they went from this really tiny compact classroom to this giant, theater stage. And I just saw the entire play just change in front of me. They were making all these bold choices, and they were taking risks, and I was like, wow, this is so different. And then we moved to the black box, and it was just like a fusion of both of them. And I didn't even have to say anything anymore. I think they got the space. The only thing that proved to be difficult for them was where the audience was sitting. Just that thrust setup kind of threw them off, just because I don't think they were used to it, having to constantly be moving around because they don't want their back to an audience. But with almost opening, coming really close, they got it, man, and I'm very excited for them. Lured me to this play? Good question. It didn't really like catch my attention. I'm more familiar with films, and I've never been like this, play guy. Like, I know this play, I know this play. I'm still not, very familiar with plays, just the ones that I've done here at the school and the ones that, most common. I was actually doing an assignment for Golden's directing class, and we had to pick a play to work on. And I was like, oh God, what do? I don't know a play. And I went online, and I was just like, cool place to do in high school. And I was reading this forum, and it was just so long. I was like on the 20th page. I was like, I'm just gonna give up. I'm just gonna pick something I did. And I kept scrolling down, and then someone posted, was like, why doesn't anyone do an Inspector Calls as a high school play? And I was like, what is that? That sounds really cool. I Googled it, and I researched, and I got myself a copy of the play. I read it in my kitchen, and I remember I just fell in love with it. It was mystery, it was suspense, it was drama. It was just it was a beautiful thriller, and I was like, I have to direct this. And sure enough, here's the opportunity. That's a very good question. J.B. Priestley, who's the playwright of An Inspector Calls, was very strong with politics. That was one of his strong suits, and you can see it a lot in his writing, especially in Inspector Calls. You can see the socialist influences that he has in the writing, and when he was writing the character Arthur Burling, he definitely had in mind this character and the usual sort that he saw around town at the time that would, fit the shoes of I'm a socialist crank, as Arthur depicts himself. And that completely changes the entire play, because he has this beautiful monologue in the very beginning when he's talking about what he sees the world today as. And it's just this paradise, and nothing can go wrong, and inventions are just, skyrocketing, and we're just becoming stronger and stronger. And really that time period was the beginning of World War I. So, and that class division is so evident in the play. Just the way they treat the inspector, looking at what he's wearing and how he looks and how he sounds, they just completely isolate themselves. It's like, we're much better than you. And I think J.B. Priestley did a very good job of making that evident, so that whoever would direct the show wouldn't be, stupid and miss it. Oh yeah, there's definitely a relationship between when he wrote it and where he placed it. In fact, the show first went up in Russia, so it was pretty obvious that, well, J.B. Priestley after World War II became a broadcaster, and he would give out messages of support, and he was actually the second most listened person on the radio. He was right behind Winston Churchill with like 16 million audience members listening to his radio broadcast. And I think he had written a play because after he had been a soldier and after he'd done his duty and he's come out, I think he had both perspectives as far as politics and as a soldier. And I think he really wanted to take his experience and kind of show the world what's really behind what the media is trying to portray and what the media is trying to tell you what is actually happening. And to see that, especially during World War II, a lot of propaganda was to support the world. You know, nothing's wrong, you're supporting your nation. And I think he wanted to show that this was still happening even in World War I, that we're making the same mistakes. And making the same mistakes is a theme that you can connect to this play. Like it's so evident throughout the entire play that everyone in the family makes a mistake and they don't realize it. It's just a cover. And I think writing it in 1945 was the best thing that he had ever done. Very differently. I mean, the last thing we want is a play with characters that are all alike, because then it's just unsatisfying to see a play where everyone's the same, no one changes. So the variation in personalities is so, it's perfect, because you know, take for example the mother. She's very aggressive, very defensive. So when she's questioned about, you know, Eva Smith, she plays it off as this kind of like, I did nothing wrong, so you can't touch me. I'm stronger than everyone here. Whereas compared to Sheila, she feels very guilty, and she's like, no, I didn't mean it. I really just wanted to try this. You know, I never intended to do this. And I think what Priestley was after was trying to pick the most common personalities and responses that he sees in daily life when someone is accused of something. You know, we have the guilt trip. Oh, please, I was in this time of need and this and that. And then we have the really aggressive ones that are like, I did nothing wrong and you can't blame me. And I think it's going to be really exciting to put all of those personalities in one room, in one night, with someone who is bound to get everything out. I think it's going to be really fun. Well, with Dominoes, it's a series of events that lead to this, you know, final moment, and it's bound to fall. But with the ripple effect, which was I was initially going for, it's kind of like this one drop that sends this ripple across. You know, when you take an action to someone, you know, you could push someone down the hallway, and you have no idea what they're capable of. You know, they can go off and do something wrong. And it can cause just these chain of events, and that's really what the play is. It's just, you know, a chain of events over all this, you know, this time, and the inspector is just making it more and more evident, and he's kind of diminishing these covers that they put up. And so I really like that idea that you know, there's this row of events, and just one by one they just keep falling down until there's that last domino. Well, I definitely don't want them to say that was a good play. And I don't want them to leave and say, you know, this school looks really nice, you know, take pictures. That's the last thing I want. I really want these people to go in and experience something. I don't want it to be a play. I want them to go in and be so involved. I want them to see the moment when Sheila tells Gerald something that makes the audience drop their jaws. I want them to go, you know, I want them to gasp when news is you know, revealed and no one has known about it. I want them to clench their chairs. I want them to jump up. I want them to say, yeah, when the inspector tells, you know, someone to shut up. I want them to be very engaged with this experience, and I want them to leave saying that was the best freaking thing I have ever seen. And then I want them to drive home or take the train, and I want them to just talk about it. Wait, who are you going for? Wait, don't you believe him? Oh, what was that girl doing? You know, I just want them to leave knowing that what they saw is real, and that it happens every day, that there's always someone that doesn't say anything, and you do something to them, and you will never know what it will do to you. Eva Smith is karma. Last words. I hate that question because I talk a lot. I'd like to thank Mr. Golden. I have always dreamt of being director, and I still plan to make directing a career of mine. But he was always someone that I still to this day look up to. And if I hadn't taken that class, if I hadn't walked in the first day of school and told him, Mr. Golden, I don't have you for any of my classes. And if he hadn't told me, well, you know what, just show up to my directing class, I'll put you in. If he hadn't said that, I don't think I'd be sitting in this stool right now. So thank you, Mr. Golden.